In part 3 of building a lead patch with VCV rack, we're going to be adding some timbre to our sound. Currently we just have a sine wave. And the sound we're going for is this. We really have two ways of changing the timbre. We can add in frequencies or we can remove frequencies. We'll start by adding some frequencies using a new VCO. We'll make a little bit of room and then duplicate the existing VCO that we have. Duplicate, and then we want to wire it up to the same inputs as the initial VCO so that it's controllable the same way as the first one. So we'll run the VOCT and FM through a splitter, and we'll do that, and then we need to run the outputs to a mixer. Thusly. Now that's a bit annoying. We need to wire up the envelope first. There we go, and now we have two, which of course sound the same because they're the same VCO. We haven't actually added anything new. So to add something new, let's change this to a saw. So now we have a saw and a sine wave playing together. This analyzer isn't showing us that because we need to get it from the mixer. There we go. Now you can't really hear that. The sine sort of gets overwhelmed by the sawtooth. One thing we can do here is add in another set of mutes so that we can more easily audition the different parts. So wire it up like that. So now we can listen to just, and now you can actually hear the difference the sine wave makes. What we're actually going to do though is rather than use a sine and a saw, we're going to use two saws, and we're actually going to detune one slightly and uptune the other one slightly. And what this does is you can sort of hear that phasing over time. And so we're creating harmonic interest here, and by taking these different frequencies and different oscillations and mashing them together. And mutating your patches over time is another way to create interest with them. Now we have a lot going on here. It's a lot of harmonics, a lot going on. So we just added a lot. Now let's look at taking some away. So I'm going to switch to just a smaller analyzer just to make a bit more room. Does the same thing. Yep. What we're going to use to remove frequencies is a voltage controlled frequency filter. A voltage controlled filter, I believe it's called. And what this does is I'll just run our mix straight into it. So we're going to use what's called a low pass filter. Now, if I press a note, so that has all the frequencies, and then as I bring the bar down, see how it sort of cuts out the top frequencies? So we can use this to really kind of take the edge off our sound. The other thing we can do, so we'll drag it back a little, we can also add a little bit of resonance. This is kind of this feedbacky bit. If you push it too high, you get feedback. But notice the effect it has on the analyzer. Kind of just adds a bit in the top end. We can also add some drive, which just adds a bit of bulk to the sound back in. There we go, that's starting to sound like an actual patch. Of course, we can just keep going here. Let's add another VCO. This is the benefit of software synth, is we don't need to stop with however many VCOs our synth came from. We can just keep adding them. So let's add a third one. We'll wire it up, and we're going to take the triangle wave for this one. Actually, sorry, we're going to take the sine wave out of this one. But what we're going to do is we're actually going to throw it up an octave. And this is just me messing around. There's no special magic here. This is just, here's what you can do. So we'll take the octaves like that. Just audition that quickly. Probably want it. There we go, so I can control it. Cool. Take a little bit out, that's a little strong. Maybe let's try a triangle. Yeah, for a lot of these, so we just add a bit of interest in the high end. I like to sort of crank it up until it's obviously too much so you can hear what it's doing. And then bring it down until you can just notice it, and then you can try auditioning just to sort of see what it adds. So go nuts, you can try detuning that, you can add in lower frequencies if you want, mix and match, we can put maybe a triangle on the bottom as well, see what that sounds like. That's a bit softer actually, I kind of like that. So go nuts, play around and see what sort of frequencies you can get. To put a final touch on our synth, we're going to add a little bit of reverb. Now you wouldn't always do this on the synth, it depends sort of what mix you're playing into, sometimes the reverb will happen afterwards, but since we're just playing a direct synth here, we're going to do it ourselves. So we're going to use this spring reverb from the same pack, the Buffaco pack that we were using earlier, and we just run the mix, so we run the filter into the reverb, and then we run the mix of the reverb back into there. And now what reverb is, that didn't work. Why not? Because I need some, there we go. So reverb, it's like you're playing in a hall. Imagine you're playing in a big church. So that's all wet, that's all reverb. If I go back to all dry, that's no reverb, that's just our patch. So we're just gonna add in a little. Maybe that's a little too much. And this just adds a bit more body to the sound as you're playing with it. And with that, we have completed our patch tutorial. Play around with this. This is sort of a really fundamental method of generating sounds. It's been used in a lot of analog synthesizers. The cool thing is we now don't need to go and buy a lot of hardware. We can do it all in software. So enjoy and let me know what you come up with.